The pursuit of profound connection with another person was never a simple matter of superficial gestures. It has, according to some historical analyses, represented a complex psychological landscape where nuance, timing, and perception hold decisive power. If a certain infamous Renaissance strategist were alive in the modern era, some speculate his focus might have shifted from states to the intricate terrain of the human heart. He might have studied it as a territory of immense complexity, with its own hidden pathways and vulnerabilities. A certain controversial experiment, detailed in a disputed manuscript, suggests that true influence is not about overt charm, but about the quiet power of perceptive understanding, the ability to see what someone might conceal, even from themselves. Before we proceed, if you find these explorations of historical psychology intriguing, make sure you've subscribed. The algorithms need to see your support to know you want more content like this. Hit subscribe now, and let's continue. No one can verify the true origins of that hidden text. It was allegedly discovered centuries after its author's death, concealed within a wall in a Florentine library. Some historians dismiss it as an elaborate hoax or a private thought experiment never meant for publication. Others argue its concepts were considered too potent, too easily misused for general consumption. Yet, copies persist. Within them, the author, let's refer to him as the strategist, examines with clinical detachment what he termed the invisible mechanics of attraction. He proposed that emotional decisions are rarely purely logical. They are often driven by a confluence of feelings, impressions, and subconscious impulses. The manuscript argued that by understanding these currents, one could position themselves as a figure of unavoidable interest. The strategist did not speak of poetry or courtship. He spoke of dynamics and influence. The central thesis was how to occupy someone's mental space subtly, fostering a belief that every step toward connection was a discovery of their own making. According to the text, the process begins prior to any direct interaction. The strategist wrote, "Influence is initiated through scarcity, not constant presence. An individual who is perpetually available diminishes their own perceived value, dispersing energy without clear intention. They become predictable, and predictability rarely inspires deep fascination." He posited, "A rare individual is often valued more highly than a flawless one." This suggested the primary tool is not overt persuasion, but strategic positioning. He explained that thoughtful distance cultivates curiosity, and curiosity represents the first fissure in emotional defenses. People are not drawn to what they already fully comprehend. They are drawn to what retains an element of mystery. Hence, the alleged quote, "The gravest error is the premature desire to be entirely understood." In the described experiment, the strategist tested this by instructing a group of men to maintain a position of slight, strategic reserve, not aloofness, but a conscious choice to be one step behind the object of their interest, close enough to be present, rare enough to be contemplated. The reported outcome was notable. The women involved began to discuss these men more frequently and, reportedly, initiated closer contact themselves, unaware of the subtle dynamic at play. This was framed as the beginning of a proven, silent influence. The core idea was that people are often more engaged by what they feel they might not fully attain, rather than what is already assured. This is a dense exploration. If you're finding value in this deep dive, show the algorithm some love. Give this a like right now. It truly helps. Now, back to the manuscript. The text then delved into a second stage, the creation of emotional contrast. The strategist believed strong attachment forms when an individual experiences two seemingly opposing emotions in proximity, security, and a form of psychological tension. Not a threat of harm, but the subtle unease of potential inadequacy or the fear of being overlooked. The feeling of being in the presence of someone admirable yet not entirely predictable. An individual who offers only safety becomes a friend. One who offers only tension becomes an adversary. But one who artfully blends both can become a subject of intense focus. The manuscript describes guiding conversations to gently activate minor insecurities, followed immediately by validating reassurance, a confusing remark swiftly balanced by a compliment. This push and pull, while ethically questionable, was reported as effective. The third component involved rhythm control. A person becomes attached to the interval, not just the action, the strategist wrote. It is not the message alone that fosters attraction, but the thoughtful silence that precedes it. It is not the praise itself that resonates, but the considered timing of its delivery. Participants in the experiment reportedly described a sense of anticipation, even in the absence of explicit promises. That sense of anticipation was described as the emotional opening for the next phase, selective mirroring. Selective mirroring meant reflecting key aspects of a person only during moments of emotional vulnerability. It was not constant agreement or imitation. It was strategic alignment, demonstrating understanding when she showed uncertainty, offering respectful challenge when she showed strength, matching ambition with ambition, and responding to fear with calm confidence. In this way, an illusion of profound compatibility was fostered, that addictive sense that this person complements something within me. The final element of this initial section focused on a simple but powerful detail: eye contact. For the strategist, a gaze was not merely a window to the soul, but a tool of nonverbal communication. He trained himself to maintain eye contact just until the other person felt compelled to look away. The theory was that the brain registers this first glance away as a subtle, subconscious yielding. The strategist wrote, "The individual who breaks gaze first will often later seek to re-establish equilibrium. And it is within that attempt that deeper engagement was said to begin." We're just scratching the surface of this controversial text. To ensure you don't miss the deeper, darker stages of this experiment, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. The next part is where it gets particularly intense. This was merely the prelude. The remainder of the manuscript allegedly delved into more complex strategies where influence and perception management blended so seamlessly that many argue it should have remained hidden. After establishing curiosity, emotional contrast, and nonverbal cues, the experiment entered a stage termed psychological integration. The strategist defined this as the capacity to embed oneself into another's thoughts so smoothly that they believe the idea of you originated within their own mind. A person only fully invests, he wrote, when they feel the conception of us was their own discovery, never an imposed suggestion. Just as an effective leader inspires followership rather than demanding it, the influential individual, according to this text, cultivates admiration rather than extracting it. To achieve this, the manuscript outlined 3 subtle triggers: the unique gesture, the seed phrase, and ambient presence. The unique gesture was a small, unexpected act designed to leave a disproportionate emotional imprint, something simple, personal, and never repeated. In the experiment, men might gently correct a stray strand of hair while making an unrelated, thoughtful comment, and then never reference the action again. The reported impact was that the women began to unconsciously await a repetition that never came, causing the memory of the single gesture to amplify. The unique gesture creates a memory, the strategist wrote. Memory fosters longing, and longing cultivates desire. The second tool was the seed phrase. These were carefully crafted observations, not overt flattery, that touched upon a person's self-perception in an ambiguous way. Phrases like, "You have no idea how much people underestimate your insight," or, "It's interesting, you project such strength, but I sense a deep conscientiousness others miss." Upon hearing this, the individual would reportedly ruminate on its meaning, trying to understand the depth of the observation. The goal was not immediate comprehension, but for the phrase to take root and grow within their private thoughts. The third technique, considered most advanced, was ambient presence. This involved leaving a psychological impression that persisted in one's absence, not through constant contact, but through a pattern of meaningful engagement followed by brief, purposeful absence. The rhythm created a cycle where the other person would begin to wonder about the individual's activities or thoughts. The key was to appear engaged in a meaningful life, without conveying disinterest. Reports indicated that after an intense conversation followed by a short, unexplained hiatus, the women experienced a mix of restlessness and heightened anticipation. It was in this emotional space that fascination was said to deepen. The strategist noted a disturbing principle here. A person only ruminates extensively on another when they realize they cannot perfectly predict them. He observed that predictability leads to categorization as neutral, while unpredictability, within bounds, sparks imagination. A person's imagination is the ultimate ally, he wrote. That is where the process completes itself. Are you starting to see the psychological patterns here? This is heavy stuff. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Is this manipulative genius or deeply unethical? Comment now. And is this manipulative genius or deeply unethical? Comment now, and don't forget to share this with someone who'd find it fascinating. The manuscript then proceeded to the construction of what it called the resonant identity. The strategist claimed that to create deep connection, mere charm or mystery was insufficient. One needed to present a version of themselves that resonated with the other person's unspoken needs and values. Every person has an interior landscape shaped by experience, he said. The influential individual learns to navigate that landscape. Participants were instructed to observe not just what was said, but what was avoided: silences, fleeting expressions, unresolved references. These subtle cues were presented as the blueprint for calibration. The resonant identity was not a false front, but a highlighted and tempered version of the self. Core beliefs remained, but qualities the other person valued were brought to the fore, while potentially disruptive traits were initially subdued. This extended to communication style, humor, and composure. Diaries from women in the experiment reportedly included sentiments like, "He understands me like no one else does," unaware that this understanding was a product of careful observation and adaptive presentation. A summarizing sentence from this section read, "A person does not fall in love with the other. They fall in love with the version of themselves that is reflected and awakened in the other's presence." This idea guided the text into even more contentious psychological territory. If your mind is reeling from these concepts, take a second to support this channel. A like, a share, or a subscribe costs you nothing but fuels this deep dive research. Your support is everything. Let's continue. The third part of the manuscript entered the realm of emotional dynamics through controlled contrast. The strategist believed no one surrenders their emotional depth to mere comfort. "The human heart needs rhythm," he wrote. "Moments of intensity followed by calm, where genuine desire can solidify. Engagement is not born from flat consistency. It is born from modulated resonance." He tested a method called the irregular pulse of attention, a calculated dance between engagement and respectful distance, intensity and measured neutrality. The goal was for the other person to sense that the individual had a rich, autonomous world, one they were partially invited into, but did not yet fully occupy. Total availability was said to reduce emotional weight, total distance to reduce relevance. True influence was allegedly found in the balance, where the other person felt a positive effort was required to access the core of the individual. In practice, this involved creating minor, non-hostile friction, a delayed reply to build anticipation, ending a conversation at its peak, or gently pivoting from expected validation. The aim was not to annoy, but to engage the instinct for meaningful pursuit. People were said to invest more in what they feel is earned rather than simply given. The strategist's more contentious method followed. He paired this slight tension with controlled, meaningful reinforcement. When the individual showed signs of uncertainty, a gesture of genuine appreciation or unique attention was offered. This cycle of mild tension and reward was purported to create a powerful emotional rhythm. Experiment reports described women feeling a unique blend of excitement and comfort. The strategist termed this emotional investment. He wrote, "People often mistake emotional intensity for profound connection. If one can create strong, resonant emotions, even complex ones, they create a psychological anchor. The human mind," he argued, "attaches to what stimulates it, not necessarily to what merely pacifies it." Next came the illusion of exclusive recognition. Here, the individual needed to feel there was something uniquely perceived in them by the other. The men were instructed to offer specific, thoughtful praise, but often with a subtle caveat that implied this quality was delicate or could be overlooked. For example, "I truly admire your perceptiveness. It's a rare trait, though sometimes I think you doubt it yourself." The compliment, paired with a gentle observation, was designed to make the recipient want to affirm and prove that unique quality. The technique of respectful challenge was also tested. A soft disagreement meant not to criticize, but to demonstrate deep perception. A comment like, "You present such confidence, but your choices reveal a thoughtful vulnerability," could, according to the text, open doors to deeper, more vulnerable dialogue. By feeling seen in their complexity, the individual was said to bond more strongly, believing the other understood a hidden part of their identity. We're navigating a psychological labyrinth. Is this insightful or dangerous? Let's discuss. Drop your honest opinion in the comments. And if you're learning anything, please share this video to grow this community of analysis. The manuscript then described a technique termed cultivated absence. After a moment of high emotional resonance, the man would subtly pull back, not vanishing but reducing intensity. Accustomed to the depth, the woman would reportedly feel the shift and seek to restore the connection. The strategist concluded, "No one misses a constant presence. We miss those who provide something meaningful and then create space." This strategy was said to enhance perceived value and keep the individual in a state of positive anticipation, where even small subsequent interactions felt significant. The final section detailed what the strategist called the point of integration. This was the stage where the individual reportedly began to feel emotionally connected without a clear narrative of how it occurred. The sign was thinking of the person frequently during idle moments. To reach this stage, the text presented calculated vulnerability. This involved sharing a seemingly intimate detail, a past fear, an old aspiration, that felt authentic but was chosen strategically to elicit empathy and a sense of being uniquely trusted. When the individual felt they were seeing a hidden layer, a shift occurred. They began to feel special, chosen, and emotionally needed. The strategist called this connection through empathetic investment. The reports allegedly contained statements like, "He seems so self-assured, yet there's a depth there I want to understand." This was paired with selective support, demonstrating care through perceptive action, not grand declarations. Noticing a subtle discomfort, offering a reassuring word at the right time, providing quiet support in an awkward moment. This care, feeling instinctive and deeply attentive, was described as powerfully bonding. It created a felt sense of reciprocity, a desire to give back emotionally, thereby deepening the connection. This is the culmination of a very controversial psychological framework. We've covered thousands of words of dense material. If you've made it this far, you're truly dedicated to understanding complex human dynamics. Your engagement is crucial. Smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't, share this with someone who debates ethics and psychology, and comment below with your final verdict. Historical curiosity or a dangerous guide? This dialogue is what makes exploration meaningful. Thank you for reading.